Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide. And I got a question. Have you noticed that in the recent, let's say, since 2024, for example, your video feed started to suggest strange channels that you've never heard of or clicked on or subscribed to, while your regularly visited channels and subscriptions are less and less visible, less and less prominent, and in some cases actually maybe just phased out completely. Like many of the other tech channels that I personally watch and support and view on a daily basis, my own channel, My Deep Guide, has suffered the same fate. This chart right here, this represents how fast videos on My Deep Guide are dying. And it's getting faster every year. This chart will make more sense a little bit later on. So because of all of this, I took a deep dive into data and analytics of My Deep Guide, or my own channel, to better understand the issue. And in this video, I present to you my findings. For those of you who are new to My Deep Guide, it's a tech-based channel that focuses on e-reader and e-tech type of technology, with around 68,000 plus subscribers, around 13 million views across 770-ish videos, up to date of recording this video. The channel itself existed since earlier, but the rebrand to My Deep Guide and subsequently focus on actually doing this work has started from 2020. So all of the data analysis and data comparisons are going to be in that range. So from year 2020 up until August 10th of 2026. In the past couple of years, I started to notice a trend across several different areas. New subscribers rates started to drop off quite noticeably. Earnings started to drop off even more noticeably. Subscribers and regular viewers mentioning at an more and more alarming rate that they are unable to find my videos even while looking for them. And subscribers mentioning that they are no longer even getting notifications when my new videos come out, even though they are subscribed to all notifications. Naturally, observing all of this stuff and hearing these things, I would go on to YouTube and YouTube Analytics, and sure enough, it was showing that there's a steady decline. However, as much as I dug around and tried to kind of make sense of it all, I could not find the what or why the failing or the falling is actually happening. Instead of assuming and guessing, in other words, instead of acting like an AI, I decided to do a thorough check of the data from my channel and let it, the data itself, tell the story so that I can understand what is going on. So I pulled 6+ years of analytics, so from 2020 all the way to the 2026 up until now, August 10th, for each year separately, so that I can better understand the yearly trends and changes. And then I made custom charts, which I'm going to be presenting you today from that pooled data, but this time charts that actually focus on the data that shines a bit more light on the what and why that was missing from the charts and views offered by the YouTube Analytics. It's important to understand that even though YouTube Analytics gives us a ton of data, all of the meaningful ones will actually fall into one of two main categories: content discovery and reach. In other words, what YouTube decides to do with the content on my channel, and content engagement and quality. In other words, what you, the viewers and the audience, thinks and how it rates the content that I present. So let's see, what story does the data actually tell us? First, let's analyze the discovery and reach trends from 2020 until August 10th, 2026. But before we do that, there's a couple of terms that you need to know if you're not already familiar with them. First, we have suggested videos category, and that is YouTube actively putting your video in front of other people who are not actively looking for your content. So sidebar, up next, or something like that. And generally speaking, the suggested videos is the cold reach or cold discovery, and is the primary way for a YouTube channel to actually grow and tap into new audiences. Browse features is your home feed and your subscriptions. So mostly people who already know you and your channel, and they are basically checking YouTube regularly and visiting your content regularly. That's something that's called like warm discovery, because it's all existing audience traffic. Then you got YouTube search, which is basically somebody typing in a YouTube search query and discovering your videos that way. So these three methods are generally the most common and important ways that your content gets to be presented or reaches existing and new audience on YouTube. So now let's take a look at the data. We start with January 1st, 2020 to 21, and you can see that we have suggested videos was the primary means of discovery with 31.5%, then browse features 24.6%, and then YouTube search was at 17%. The primary discovery method in 2020, when mydeepguide actually started, was YouTube suggesting my content to new people. Flip over to the next year, 21 to 22, and we see that suggested videos is still strong at 31.4%, browse features 20.3%, YouTube 18.1%. So far, so good. We go to 22 to 23. Suggested videos still first, but it's starting to drop off at 27.7. Then we have browse features, and then YouTube search also on the third, but YouTube search starting to actually rise. Then we get 23 to 24, and a dramatic shift happens where browse features is now the prominent one at 29%. We got YouTube search behind browse, which is, you know, established. This is how it's supposed to be. But the suggested videos has had a drop from somewhat steady 30% down to 19% in course of realistically less than 1 year, but let's say 1 year. And then we go to 24 to 25, we still have browse features first, YouTube search second, and suggested videos now down to 17.2%. 25 to 26, we got browse first, YouTube search second, external is now third. That's like somebody from outside of YouTube, and it has overtaken the suggested videos in 2025 range, because it's now down to 12.6%. And now we go to 2026 up until August 10th, and we get the same thing. Browse features, YouTube search, and suggested videos is back up to 13.9, but it's not still the year end because the external is very, very close at its heels. So let's zoom out a little bit and take a look at how does this data and how do these changes actually look like when you put them in a timeline in a chart. And we can see suggested videos in orange, browse features in blue, and YouTube search in green. And we can see that the suggested videos was steady 21, started to fall off in 22, nosedived in 23, and then continued to fall off all the way, or basically plummet, down to 2025. In 26, again, it's still a little bit up, but we don't still have yet the full year data rounds. And when collating all of this data into this type of chart, we can clearly see the point of shift, which was 2023. For some reason, that's the why, that the answer I don't have to. In 2023, YouTube simply stopped suggesting my videos to new viewers. However, the channel has actually picked up and has grown in subscriber counts, so the browse features picked up and kept it a little bit alive. But the problem is that from 2024, 25, and 26, it kept on falling dramatically. And even though browse features have risen, and even the YouTube search has risen a little bit, it is not enough to actually offset the complete collapse that the YouTube algorithm has decided for some reason to actually bury mydeepguide. So it stands to reason that if YouTube algorithm has decided to stop or lower and then stop suggesting the videos and the content from mydeepguide, that must mean that something that I've been doing has changed. either the quality or the frequency or the interaction, the audience interaction with my videos and things like that, right? Because that's the most logical thing. Before I show you the next chart, two more terms that you need to know. An impression is just how many times YouTube has shown your thumbnail to your video on any device. So in a side scrolling, in a home page, on any device, anywhere, if your YouTube video thumbnail has shown, that is counted as an impression, whether somebody clicked on it or not. CTR, or the click-through rate, is basically what happens after your thumbnail has been shown to an audience member. Out of everyone who saw that thumbnail, the number of those who click on it, or actually the percentage of those who click on that thumbnail to actually watch the video, that is your click-through rate. That means that if your thumbnail has been shown 100 times and precisely 3 people click on it to view it, your CTR is 3%. Now that we know what these two mean, impressions and CTR, let's check out the next chart and see where did I screw up. We got suggested impressions and suggested views as blue and orange, and we can see them that they are plummeting almost in perfect synchronicity. That is corresponding the line that we've seen with the suggested videos. So that kind of tracks, but what doesn't track is the suggested CTR, or the click-through rate, because we can actually see it from 2023, which is the point of flip that we've seen, that it's actively on the rise and improving. And let me just remind you, the click-through rate is direct measurement of how successful and engaging your thumbnails are to the audience. This is not a story about people not wanting to click. This is starting to look more like a story about not having an option to click on a video in the first place. So now from the discovery and reach data, we know that the YouTube algorithm is suggesting my videos less, but we had an indication that, at least as far as the impressions CTR goes, or engagement with the audience, it's actually the opposite. They were interacting more. But there are more elements to check out here about things that I might be doing wrong and where my content is actually going wrong and contributing to the fall off of the channel. First, let's rule out the usual suspects. The first and foremost one for YouTube will be, well, you were making less videos, or the video cadence. However, when we check the upload cadence, which is here granularly sorted by quarters for each of the years, we can see before in Q2, mydeepguide actually started, and we can see that it was between 1.5 and 2 videos per week. And then we can see some peaks and valleys here, but more or less, it is somewhere around the area between 1.5 and 2.0 videos, with the exception being Q2, and Q3 is not full, but Q2, because that's an intentional thing. I stopped doing 2 videos per week because it no longer made sense. You will see why. But no, I didn't upload less. So that's not the case. The next usual suspect is that my content has gotten worse or less engaging for the audience, right? But we've already seen from the impressions CTR. But this time, on this chart, I'm going to show you the whole channel. We have total impressions on the channel, not just suggested impressions, total impressions. We have this up until 2023, and from 23, nosediving down to 2026, basically just a straight line down, while the overall CTR, click-through rate, from 2022 is on a steady rise, and actually the lowest point, 2026, where I had least amount of total impressions, I had the highest overall click-through rate. So nope. People who actually have an opportunity to click on them, they do click on them. Okay, so maybe just my audience isn't engaged generally anymore with my content. So let's check that. So here we can see subscribers gained in orange and watch hours, and they are funneling down towards 2026. basically following the line that we just saw with the impressions rate. However, when we check out the audience engagement, which is average percentage viewed, so what percentage of video total has been viewed, and stage to watch metric that was added from 2023, that was a newer one, we can actually see that it's holding steady or again on the rise, while the subscribers gained is nosediving. So again, here we have orange is the subscribers count, just to kind of reference what's happening in the timeline. The green line is average percentage viewed from 2020. So it's kind of dipping down a little bit and then it levels down here. And then we have the new metric, which was stage to watch, and that is stage to watch after a couple of initial, I don't know how many seconds or minutes. And that is basically steadily on the rise with a little fall in 2026, but we will see how that measures out in the end because it's still not full years round worth of data. So acquisition collapsed, but the viewer satisfaction didn't. And lastly, if I check the average view duration, it has barely moved while the growth of the channel has cratered from 2023 all the way down to 2026. And this fall off actually makes sense because I have started to gradually make slightly shorter videos so that they're more easily digested by the audience. So this green line and this green fall off here makes perfect sense, but it has zero sense with this line here. These two should not go like that. So from the engagement and quality data side of the story, we got not less output, not worse content, not less engaged audience, and not less interest in content by the audience. So the engagement and quality data tells and continues telling the same story that the discovery and reach data hinted at. When the audience gets a chance to actually see my content, they are equally or more interested in engaging and interacting with it. But they're simply not getting the option to click on the videos in the first place. Remember that first chart that I showed in the beginning of the video? Well, that's the hidden damage that the channel is actually suffering from. And what it means is that the average shelf life or longevity of a video is steadily collapsing. In 2020, by year 2, the videos were roughly at around 74.6% of viewership as from the first year and the day they were launched. And that number is now steadily dropping. So basically the shelf life of the content and the library of investment that I'm doing as a tech content creator on YouTube is basically shrinking into nothing. So how does that reflect on the channel in reality? Well, it directly affects the effective hourly rate that I am getting from making YouTube videos. Let's suppose that I need 16 work hours to research, test, record and edit an average video for my channel, which of course it's not the case because it's much more. But for the sake of argument and calculating all of these things, let's agree on the 16 work hour per video standard. In 2020, it was 183 Norwegian kroners, effectively around 19.20 US dollars, and then it started to fall down in 2024 to 54.8 kroners, which is around 5.8 US dollars, and then 4.3 US dollars, and now we're down to 1.6 bucks per hour for 2026. We're talking about same or frequently a lot more work for higher production quality, and I'm not taking into account the investment into equipment and things like that, for a fraction of a return. And all of these are a direct consequence of that algorithmic shift. And here's another weird one. Do you remember that I mentioned at the beginning that the subscribers were mentioning how they are no longer getting notifications for my videos? Well, it pulled up that data as well to kind of check out what's going on. And check this out. Notification views per subscriber have went down 97%. And that minus 97% is happening while the subscriber base grew more than 8 times. And here's a practical example of how that actually looks like. The Supernote A6X2 that I talked about, it gained the channel 417 subscribers. Yet that same video, miraculously, somehow, has netted only 207 views. Total. 207 views from the notifications delivered to the subscribers. And we're talking about a channel that has tens of thousands of subscribers and a really, really avid and active and faithful and excellent community. So if you've noticed as a YouTube viewer that one of your favorite channels has gone quiet suddenly without a warning, this is how it looks like from the other side. While I was digging through all of this data, and I searched for that same Nomad review in a private incognito window because I wanted to check out that other report that users said that they can't really find my videos. This is what I've got, what you're seeing here. This is in real time, and actually maybe I'll need to speed it up because it took such a long time to actually open an incognito window, be not logged into a YouTube account, and simply type in Supernote review and see when a first Supernote review video from mydeepguide is actually going to show up. And it showed up as number 87 in the YouTube search list. It was the 87th result from a direct search. That result was so strange that I checked it for remarkable, and then I checked it for books as well, so kind of compare all of that. And when I started comparing the results, they were so strange and interesting at the same time that I decided that they actually needed their own video because it's like a separate issue, and that's something that's coming in the near future. So there it is. I just want to remind you one more time that the data and the information that you've seen here is not a hypothetical. It's not a scenario or something. This is actual real-life data from the channel that you're watching right now and from a channel that's going through all of this right now. And now, in a YouTube type of fashion, I'm supposed to give you a clear-cut answer and know it all and, you know, a cure and a solution to all of this, right? But I can't give you one because YouTube is completely opaque as far as the algorithm decisions and changes goes. So I can't offer you definitive answers to how or why. But I can present to you, and I hope that I managed to do that, is the answer to what happened and what changed in the case of my tech channel's data. Most of the charts that I've presented in this video are custom made, and they simply do not exist as an option for you to choose and view directly in the YouTube analytics. You have to pull the data manually yourself, and you have to sort through the data and create the charts yourself in order to get deeper insights and understanding to what is actually going on underneath all of, you know, the surface level things. So the data is absolutely there, but the options to present it in such a granular and clear way is not there. For me, this approach and this examination of data gave me the answers to what and partially the answers to the question why. So it gave me a level of understanding and insight that I didn't have before. Hopefully, this video and this type of analysis and sharing of the data and the methodology and everything that was done here may be able to help you and your tech channel if you are going through a similar kind of thing. And if it does, that would make me very, very happy. I hope that you found the video informative and or interesting or useful. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye!